So your work represents a sort of interconnectivity with our human body and our environment. So I wanted to ask, how do you perceive, the relationship that our human body has with our earth, with the environment?
Great question again.
Maybe.
I would say I don't have a full-on answer. I've dedicated some 10 years to exploring it, but I think it's very much that it's an exploration of it's more like I'm reaching out to other people like, okay, how do you make sense of this? Because how do we see that? This is, well, here we go into the land of our environment or nature, and then us humans and our bodies, and like where does this separation begin? Like I like to think that everything is so permeable that there is no such distinction really. So again, with the Ice's Biggest Plates, Carolina and I go around, meet people, and we were in this parking lot in Japan, and we're talking with this gentleman, and we ask like, okay, so is there somewhere where you like to go in nature and enjoy yourself, or go walking or something? And he looks at us kind of like, well, what do you mean, like nature? Like I am in nature. Like I don't need to go anywhere separate. And we were both just like, of course. Like we, I feel like constantly like through this project we are learning so much. Like we ask questions, but we are like often put to our place through our collaborators by answers like that, and we think like, well, that's right. Like me, my body in nature, like where does the nature end and where does my body begin? There isn't ever really a hard line.
Yeah, that's definitely a very philosophical thought to think about, like our body and the environment and where and when do we draw the distinction?
Yeah, or that parking lot and nature. Like, so where does nature begin and where does the parking lot end? Or like if you're in your car or whatever, just, yeah. So it's this constant, like in the portraits too, it's like humans in nature, but like which one is the protagonist? And like I feel this general blurring of lines also, like we work mostly with older people, and often it could be anybody, but in the images people look at them and go like, like this gentleman here, and then we're like, well, it's actually like Marta from something and it's a she. But again, it doesn't, I feel like it doesn't matter, like is it in New York or is it in South Korea? It's great that you can't necessarily tell, like blurring of national boundaries or gender boundaries or, yeah, all kinds. It's, I think we should exercise a little bit of bending when it comes to kind of ideas of strict times and, yeah, boxes.
I agree with your points because a lot of the boundaries are actually, what we have made ourselves.
Mm,
And there's almost this tricky perception paradox with, where do we draw them and when do they begin and when do they end? Something to
exactly.
think about.
Yeah, and I understand, like we were talking earlier about New Year, and I understand that for the logic of the society to run, we need to say that now we're going to go to 2021. But still, aren't we just kind of like time just exists, and here we bobble along. But yeah, similar like that.
Yeah.